Hey everybody, Gary Edelman, American Battlefield Trust. We're so glad that you're taking some time out of your day to watch our videos. We're even more happy that our members actually came forward and funded this trip out to what we call the Western Theater. This is our third Western swing. We've been to West Virginia and Kentucky. We've been to Petersburg and North Carolina. Don't ask me why when you go south and east of Petersburg, Virginia, you're in the West, but you are, trust me. And then here we are covering Mississippi and Tennessee. This is our roughly probably the third Shiloh video that you're seeing. We did a Union setup, we did a Confederate setup. Now we have to start the battle, and that battle is arguably going to start right behind me. We've got a lot to cover, so before I hand it over to our main guest here, just know that here's a trust map here, and you can see the Confederate juggernaut coming this way. Hardee, Polk, Bragg, supported by Breckinridge, coming up against a much smaller Union force. So I think you know the Battle of Shiloh doesn't start out well for the Union, and we're going to get into that. But before I do, just note all these blue tracks that you, the members and supporters of the American Battlefield Trust, have helped us to really expand this section, this sector of the Shiloh battlefield. So thank you again so much for what you do so we can understand and preserve this battlefield for all time. And to talk about what's going on here, let's bring on Parker Hills. He's our good friend, and from Battle Focus Tours. I'll hold your maps.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary. The last time I was here doing a tour for the Trust, we had snow flurries on us, and it was a little bit nippy. So it's really great, even though it's December, to have a wonderful day where we're out here today. Now, I've already mentioned the Boy Scout camping style, and I was a Boy Scout, I was a Life Scout, so I'm not offending the Scouts, but again, we always picked out the prettiest ground and what looked most convenient. We never considered tactics. Why should we? Well, these guys have a reason to do. So we got William Harvey Lamb's division up here close to the Visitor Center, and over here we've got John Alexander McClernand's division. Remember, he's a political general from the state of Illinois, narrowly missed being elected Speaker of the House by one vote. William Tecumseh Sherman's got his headquarters right over here by Shiloh Church, and the latest to arrive is Benjamin Mayberry Prentice's division down here. Now, Prentice and Grant have already had their run-ins back at Belmont on an argument over date of rank. So Prentice and Grant are not necessarily friends, but the only professional soldier here with the division is William Tecumseh Sherman. He is the West Pointer here. Now the Confederates are moving in, as we talked about it, in tandem. You've got Hardee's line here, and over here augmenting his line is a division from Bragg's 2nd Corps, Daniel Ruggles' division. They're moving in, and behind him is Braxton Bragg's division, and then Leonidas Polk's division, and behind him is the reserve division of John Cabell Breckinridge's. So now as they move up, the skirmish line of Hardee early on Sunday morning, the 6th of April, 1862. It's a little bit, according to some of the soldiers, frost on the ground. It's a little hard to believe, but at that time of day. But remember, we had a cold front, and rain came in and dropped. It's been chilly. Let's just say it was quite chilly. It's clear. And look at the field in the distance. That is, we're looking at Fraley Field and off to the left, Woods Field. And the far tree line, I've actually brought soldiers through that before dawn, and as they come through, because I wanted them to get a feel. And as you come through those woods, you come out, oftentimes you will see deer in the field, but it's dark and you can't tell what you're seeing. And then as the sun behind us in the distance starts peeking up over the horizon, you begin to see the lines of the deer. Well, in this case, it's human beings. This is a reconnaissance force sent out against orders by Benjamin Mayberry Prentice that said, do not do anything to bring on the fight, because Halleck has told Grant, do not do anything to bring on a fight, and he's passed the word down to his commanders. But Colonel Everett Peabody, and it's actually, in Massachusetts, they pronounce it Peabody.
Peabody.
But down here we call it Peabody, okay? That's just the way it is. If I say Peabody down here, nobody knows what I'm talking about. But let's say Peabody. Now, Peabody is an engineer. He builds railroads. He's had some combat behind him. He's a very competent man, and he realizes all the signs, rabbits coming, the deer coming, running at him through the woods, all kinds of signs. He's actually hearing some shots in the distance as errant Confederates are shooting at rabbits. He knows something's out here. So he grabs a regular Army major named Powell, and he gives him some Missouri troops, and he has them come down here and do a reconnaissance. The first reconnaissance finds nothing, and he comes back, and Peabody says, something's out there, go back. And they come out here, and they're out here in this line right here around 5:45 a.m. on Sunday morning. The sun is not quite up, it's just beginning to peek over the horizon. And out here in the fields are Major A.B. Greencastle's troops. They are from Grenada, Mississippi, and they are a skirmish line moving out across the field. And these men, as they begin to see what they think were deer, then they realize, my God, they're Yanks. And they open fire. Fire from both sides breaks out. These are Southerners, and they're hunters, and their fire is a little bit more accurate. And they start knocking down some soldiers. A lieutenant goes down over here first, and some casualties form up. And behind the skirmishers comes a main battle line of Hardee's Corps. Pat Claiborne's men are off to our front right, and coming in. And all of a sudden, as the sun comes up and starts shining out there, Major Powell looks out, and there's every Reb in the world in front of him. And he says, you know, gentlemen, it's time. We have about 125 men. It's about time for us to about face. And they begin to head back. As they will head back, they will run into some more Federals we'll talk about a little bit later. But the Battle of Shiloh will start here early on Sunday morning, just at sunrise, as the elite elements of Hardee's Corps are going to run into a reconnaissance patrol, which is going to be the tripwire for the Battle of Shiloh. And if it hadn't have been for these men sent out by Everett Peabody, they truly would almost certainly have caught the Yanks in their beds. This is what, and what I'm trying to say is, one leader can make a difference, one soldier can make a difference, particularly one who's concerned about the welfare of his troops. And this is Everett Peabody.
I think this is great, and you might have planning, we're going to do a little bit more on this, so you might be planning on getting into this separately, Parker, but I want to say a couple of things. But one, I have a question for you though. So Peabody sort of seems like he did the right thing. His division commander, Benjamin Mayberry Prentice, he's been breaking out middle names. That's usually my territory. He already broke out William Hervey Lamb Wallace in the middle, so he's already taken some of my favorite ones. But don't worry, there's trivia to come. You know, Prentice must have been delighted that this man took the initiative, right?
Prentice is furious because, in his mind, Peabody has brought on a fight against orders. And we will see that he will actually chew Peabody out for this. And he will say, I'm going to hold you responsible for bringing on this fight. And Peabody, as a true leader, says, General, I have been responsible my entire life for everything I've done.
And so, you know, it's pretty interesting here. The battle seems like it's coming either way. You know, for Prentice to be angry, you know, at the presence of tens of thousands of Confederates seems a little rough. Maybe Prentice isn't the hero of the Battle of Shiloh after all. We'll talk about that more later. I just want to say, too, that I got chills. I mean, this is why we come to these places, that you can look off in the distance and Parker can describe how it's hard to see deer or people. And I got chills for a second standing here. And this is why we come to these places. I know I don't need to convince you all of this, but come to these places. Come to where it happened. Read the accounts of the soldiers. Read the signs that are here. And we hope you'll get the chills as well and maybe have a transformational moment, which could be really cool. So this video may or may not be combined with our next. So we'll see you either at the end of this video or the next. But thank you for joining us, for supporting battlefield preservation. Maybe I can ask Chris Mikowski behind the camera to show us a little bit more of the field on the outro.